I want to talk about a little bit about the sleeping position that I use. Obviously, it doesn't mean everybody will feel the same, because it does have a pretty big impact, at least my experience. And also, perhaps I'll try to explain a bit, not explain it, just tell you more about the kind of food relation with this problem. So I usually sleep, most of the times, I try at least to sleep on the sides. Why I'm saying this, first I use a taller pillow. Taller means your head will sit higher a little bit with respect with your heart, basically, which will make hopefully the heart pumping a little bit stronger if you want, and this will just bring more blood into your nose at night time, I'm talking. And maybe this will kind of slide, really slide, not a big thing, get your nostrils less dry at night during sleep. But the idea is that I explained in my previous videos, about when I would wake up at night. Sometimes I would get a really, I don't know how to describe these things, with my lungs breathing. And all those times happened when I woke up and I was sleeping on my back involuntarily, because it's not something, like I said, I try to sleep on the sides, but obviously at nighttime, I don't know, when the body does other things. So all those times when I had this, I call this in other videos dry lungs feeling. Also I did call it, I feel like I wasn't breathing, or I had to force myself to breathe. All those moments I was sleeping on my back. I woke up sleeping on my back. Also, I said in other videos, those moments I link them to having eat something in the afternoon or in the evening. You may, if you are not familiar with my videos, look at my other videos. I talk about sort of a diet, eating hours, and so on, to relieve a little bit my my nostril dryness, and also nighttime nostril blockage. So yes, those dry lung feeling when I would wake up at night were related to food, but also all the times I woke up sleeping on my back. So I personally like sleeping on my back. I feel it's a relaxing position, but I always sleep on the sides. It doesn't matter which side. Actually, I need to turn oftentimes between the sides during the night. So yes, I think sleeping on the back, at least me, that's just me, I'm not saying everybody's like this, with this condition, it's worsening, and it's possibly worsening this feeling of very dry lungs, and not feeling like, basically I wake up and I don't feel like my chest, my lungs are breathing. It's crazy, that sensation. And also the lungs feel dry inside. It's very difficult to explain. Obviously my mouth is going to be very dry too. I may add into this that I always sleep when at night, I lay in bed on the side. I always put my mouth against the pillow, and I always sleep with my mouth a little bit open. Even if my nostrils now, because of this diet, stay relatively open at night, I always keep my mouth open. And nobody asked this, but I just want to point out that during the day I notice I always keep my mouth open. So I can no longer, even if my nostrils are no longer blocked and no longer that dry, I can no longer breathe just by my nostrils, even through the day. At no time, I think so. So I just want to describe again very quickly this feeling of dry lungs, because actually there were two different feelings, two different situations, if you want, distinct from each other. Since I sleep on the sides, I did wake up with that sensation a few times, dry lung. I do describe this in another video. But also, years ago, I didn't sleep on the sides. I didn't educate myself to sleep on. I didn't actually realize it has an effect. So years ago I was sleeping on my back, and I remember that quite a few times back in years ago. I would wake up, and I think I did explain this in another video. This sensation is difficult to explain it. I would call this, I feel like basically only the top of my lungs are getting air in them, inside them. So imagine the chest is pretty tall, but imagine just like the last few inches top of my lungs. The lungs go underneath the clavicle, I think, pretty high up. So only the top of my lungs were getting air in there, and my breath was very short. I would say, let me try to show you how it was short breathing, like this, short, and I don't know, fast but short. So it was like, if you imagine the lungs are like an inflatable bag, it was like very, very small breaths, I would say, very small expansion of the lung. That was also very, very crazy feeling, not normal at all. So this is just another, how do I say it, result of sleeping on my back, which I no longer do, although sometimes I wake up like this. So this thing of very short breath in, breath out to my lungs, this was happening years ago when I was sleeping on my back. And I don't remember if I had a diet back then. I don't remember if there was a diet or no. Probably no at that point. So yes, these are the two situations, this kind of short breathing, and the other one, which is I call dry lungs feeling, or actually basically I don't feel my body is breathing. I think the body is still breathing a little bit, but it's just it's like it's stopped, something like this. This is the dry lung feeling. And also I feel lungs, I don't feel air at all inside my lungs at those moments. So that's why I call this dry feeling. There's no kind of, you feel normally you feel a breeze of air, like a slight coolness inside your chest. I didn't feel it the moments when I call this dry feelings, dry lungs. I just want to say something else about when I talk about this diet thing. I don't exactly remember how it started, how I kind of got the idea, let's try, maybe the food has an impact. Because obviously I cannot, this were not like I was learning this in a classroom, so I remember that day that the teacher said so. So these were things that happened through months, long periods, involuntarily somehow. But I can tell you that years ago, before I did start this diet, I noticed, actually I think when I look past in the time, because at that point I was still working as an engineer, and I was traveling with my colleagues, and this is right after the surgery. So right after, I mean within 1-2 years after the surgery. At that point I did suffer from my nostrils being dry and I think blocked, but I didn't, I knew this is from the surgery, but I didn't know this is ENS. I wasn't at all aware of this condition and so on. I didn't do any diet, obviously. And I do remember that from the moment of the surgery, eating late in the evening would cause me a really bad night. And this is not something I had before the surgery. So before the surgery, I would eat, you know, there was Christmas days, New Year, eat at a restaurant late. I had no problem with this. Maybe I didn't rest that well, but I had no problem eating at late a meal, a good meal, a big meal, pizza, whatever. After the surgery, this became a problem. And I do remember, like I said, I was traveling with this team. I was working in a place, and we had to have supper. We went to a restaurant when we finished the job, and in the evening. And I do remember I did eat a normal meal at the restaurant, and then I went to bed maybe 1-2 hours later. And I do remember that night, it was terrible, just terrible. This was soon after the surgery, soon after the turbinate removal. Basically, my lower turbinates have been completely removed with the mucosa on them. So yes, you see, maybe you can check by yourself. Why is food having an impact when you have after this surgery? It's hard to explain, but like I said in another video, I do link food to digestion. Digestion, you can just Google up, inform yourself, because it's easier for you to understand better when you read pages, not just when you listen to someone explaining this in 20 seconds. So the food during digestion, the blood during digestion travels, actually is taken, if you want, by the body. There is a mechanism by dilating and contracting the blood vessels. The body brings more blood towards your stomach to digest that food and to transfer, to ship, if you want, move the nutrients around the body when the digestion is finished. So this takes blood away from your nostrils, maybe also away from your brain and so on. I don't know, that's why sometimes you get sleepy after a big meal. So anyhow, this impacts the dryness of the nostrils, because, and also I think it impacts the functioning of the lungs in person with empty nose syndrome. Why? This is just a theory, right? We just might try to understand these things. Why? Because let's first, for the nostril part, the nostrils, perhaps you already know, need a lot of blood getting into the mucosa of the nostrils, a fine web of many blood vessels. And this is what keeps the mucosa humid. But also, I believe that it's possible that, I'm not sure, nobody knows basically, or at least I don't know, but even soon after empty nose syndrome, your nostrils will get dry. And like I explained in another video, this is critical. This, in healthy persons, the nostril humidity is critical to keep the lung humidity, the air inside the lung at 100% humidity. This is critical. Like I said, the nostrils are the humidifier of your lung. The lungs do get humidity from the blood, but a lot of the humid air that's inside the lungs, a lot of this humidity comes from your nostrils. So when your nostrils, obviously, after the surgery get dry, stay dry, 24/7, then your lungs no longer get that humid 100% air. So I believe even soon after the surgery, my surgery happened 15 years ago about, even soon after the surgery, people, because the air inside their lungs is no longer 100% humidity, it's perhaps 70, 80, 90, this possibly causes the lungs to start losing humidity. And that humidity, this is important to understand, the humidity inside the lungs basically are filled with air and blood. Again, go on Google, it's your hand touch. Just go inform yourself how the lungs work actually. So lungs are really a bag with air. It's like a sponge. It's not a void, a hole in there. It's really like a sponge. So this sponge is filled with your air that you breathe in, and with very tiny blood vessels which are fully blood. It's not water or something else. So if the lungs, that's just my reasoning, are drier than normal, than 100% humidity, then they start losing blood, basically blood volume. So this may mean that basically people with ENS, even right after the surgery, with the nostrils, when the nostrils are dry, start being dry, those people maybe either lack blood volume, their blood volume is lower, or the blood is more viscous. I don't know. Someone, I guess a doctor who is in this specialty field, maybe he can explain what could happen actually. But all this to say that maybe there's also a problem with the blood volume or blood viscosity or so, and this may impact the sleep quality if you eat, and if you eat in the evening or afternoon, and if you didn't complete your digestion and you go to bed, in persons who have empty nose syndrome. this is just a theory again. Like I say, there are other situations, other problems, dry nostrils, dry lungs, but also maybe you have a lower blood volume or something like this, or more viscous blood, and this may affect the sleep quality as well. Understand, if the parameters on which the healthy body is working, if those parameters are off, then there are going to be impacts. I don't know, maybe the brain is not going to be that rested at night. I have no idea. I'm just saying this may explain why after the surgery, when I would eat in the evening, like a big meal, my sleep was so bad. And I don't remember exactly if this is the reason. This may actually be the reason why I actually started to try eating my last meal, because I was feeling bad in my sleep. My sleep was bad. I was trying. This is perhaps what forced me basically to try eating my last meal, earlier in the day, the earlier possible. Like I said in other videos, I started eating my last meal at 6 p.m., 6 in the evening. Then I lowered this slowly. It takes time because you need to get used to this kind of way of eating. I started to lower that 6 o'clock until I did reach basically 12 o'clock or so. Last meal, 12 or not. Usually I eat before 1, I finished eating 1 p.m. So yes, this is just to tell you more about how this idea with diet started. And one last thing is that I also did notice this. These are things I don't explain. I cannot explain. There's a strong sun right in my face now. Anyhow, so also I did notice after the surgery. Actually, I did notice. I do remember noticing this thing, but I didn't understand at that time why was this going on. I did notice I used to drink orange juice, Tropicana or whatever brand, 1 glass, maybe 1-2 glasses in the morning usually, and it made me feel bad the next day. I cannot explain what I mean by bad. Something in my, I don't know, it wasn't physical. It was like the way I felt through the day myself. It was very clear for me. So the day I would stop, actually, or if I wouldn't drink that orange juice one day, the next day I would feel well, normal. And if I would drink yet again one day again that juice, then the next day I would feel bad again. So I stopped drinking juice. But this is just another indication that things may just go I don't know, different, right? It affects you. Let me just finish this video. I didn't plan. I was saying probably I'm going to put this somewhere in the title or video description about the mood, the overall mood with this ENS condition. I want to say talk about 2 things. First, anxiety, and second, depression. I can tell you that I did describe this anxiety feeling only at night time, when I would wake up at night, and this was extremely strong. So normally I don't have anxiety. I don't have reasons to be anxious. Is that how we say it? I don't have reasons for this, but there have been moments at night time when I woke up and I felt anxiety so strong. Like the only way I can describe it is like someone is slapping you, not big slap, but slapping your face. It's a physical. You feel it physically the same way I would feel this anxiety thing. It was just difficult. And I'm saying this, but I don't know. I'm not sure about it. I'm just throwing this out there. Because obviously I can be mistaken, right? In this, trying to figure out these things, but I'm not saying I have the right answers or if I'm right. that I'm right. So I did, the moments when I had this anxiety at nights, I used to eat chocolate in the morning, small amounts, I think 2-3 squares of chocolate, regular chocolate, and I tried to just stop eating the things that I was eating then, and the moment I stopped eating this chocolate thing, that anxiety went away completely. Is it that a link? I have zero idea. I have absolutely no way to explain this. I think it was that chocolate thing, but I can tell you that that anxiety went completely away. I no longer feel it. Sometimes I do feel it, depends if I wake up at night and, like I said, I had that dry lung feeling. There is an anxiety at that moment, but nowhere near that anxiety that I was having, like I explained a few moments ago, which may have been linked to chocolate. I don't know. Maybe one day people will just start like that. Specialist people will study and will just do examine this issue of empty nose syndrome, will come with answers, and maybe they will tell you chocolate had something in it. Perhaps I'm not sure about it, but because now I like to eat sometimes small bits of chocolate, really small amounts, 1-2 squares, but I only eat chocolate that has no soy lecithin in it. So if you want the more commercial chocolate, has soy lecithin, is a emulsifying. I don't know what it's used for, but it's in there. And if you go for more refined, not necessarily much more expensive chocolate, it does not have soy lecithin to it. You just look on the ingredient list. So the small bits of chocolate that I eat today, sometimes these days in the morning, don't have lecithin in it, and I don't feel that anxiety. So I don't know. Am I right? Am I wrong? No idea, but I'm just pointing out about this very strong anxiety feeling only when I would wake up at night. And it wasn't related to dreams or something like this. It was just a bang. As I would wake up, very powerful anxiety feeling. I have to step out of the bed and walk. Sometimes I would walk outdoors, outside, just to come back to normal state. This is one thing. The other thing is that throughout this period, I did not feel depression. Let me just explain first that when I came to Canada, I'm a migrant to Canada because I was very isolated, socially isolated. I had episodes of depression, so I know what depression is. So since I had this ENS problem, I didn't feel depression from this problem, from this ENS condition, except, and this is why I'm pointing this, except there has been a few days ago, or was it a few days, probably 1-2 weeks ago, I started, I think during the morning time, especially during the morning time, I would feel a strong depressing, I don't know if it really all of a sudden, it's hard to tell, kind of all of a sudden, somehow, just like a headache if you want, I would have a pretty strong depressive mood, I guess, really something like, I don't know, discouraged or so. And it felt like, again, it didn't feel like the past, when I was younger, those episodes of depression. This time was feeling, I would compare it actually with the anxiety intensity that was just described. The same kind of depression, very powerful, very, just like you burn your hand or something like this. It's really strange and also kind of difficult to cope with it. So these episodes happened, I would say, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. I think during the morning time, perhaps around the middle of the day or so, would last maybe hours. I don't exactly remember. Maybe a couple of hours during a day. Then it would go away. Again, I'm just throwing this out there. and maybe if someone has the same issues, then just maybe try to give you a lead or something, an idea. But again, I may be completely wrong on this, right? Because at some point it sounds weird what I'm saying, this kind of explanation, and I absolutely believe it's weird. It's not like I had depression because I took a medication that gets you depressed, right? Something clear. But what I want to say is that this was at the same time. It was a coincidence. I'm not sure to say coincidence in French, in English. It happened at the same time when I started eating, because I'm very hungry sometimes. I started eating sunflower seeds. Okay, so right away, right off the bat, I know I absolutely agree with you. It doesn't make sense, right? I'm saying that depression moment was because of eating sunflower seeds. It doesn't make completely, to me, it doesn't make sense. I guess for everybody it doesn't make sense. But so what happens is that I bought these sunflower seeds. I bought a kind of a bigger pack. These were dried seeds without salt, because I cannot eat salt. And I started eating those through the day. Not a lot, not like, I don't know, a kilo a day or so. But I did eat those. And after these moments of powerful feeling of depression happened about 2, 3, 4, at most 4 weeks after starting eating those seeds, which I wasn't eating before. So again, I went back, and just my way of thinking now, I tried to look if I started to eat something recently. It was those seeds. I stopped eating them. That strong feeling of depression went completely away. Not completely, I would say 80%, 90% away. So maybe I would feel a little bit depressed at some point, a little bit, really, like, I don't know, discouraged or so, but it's just very, very, very light. But I stopped, actually I didn't stop eating those seeds completely. I came back again and eat them again, but very, very small amounts this time. But it felt like the moment I stopped eating those seeds in larger amount, those intense feelings of depression went away. So you believe what you want. If you want to call me weirdo, crazy, go ahead, no problem. But I'm just throwing this out there. Once again, I have no explanation. Is it just me? I don't know. I think that this or that food is causing me problems. I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, I just want to share this with you. This powerful but very, very short hours episode of depressive feeling, and those anxiety feelings, strong ones by night, are this because, remember, our body, I'm not saying this is the reason, I'm just trying to find our explanation. Our body has been, I believe the body with empty nose syndrome, especially after many years, has been thrown off the balance in more than one ways. I will explain that thing with lungs, blood, and so on. So it's not impossible that at some point some components of specific foods, not necessarily the whole food, but components, ingredients in that food, chemicals, if you want, in that food, will have some sort of reactions on us, maybe on the brain, who knows. Obviously, I don't know, maybe the answer, it's out there, someone has it, some specialist in some study, but it's not easy to find a confirmation for these theories that I'm throwing here. So yeah, this was the thing. These are the things that I want to share with you. And also I want to say that, you know, so this has been about 15 years now for me, and 15 years without a normal sleep at night. I don't want to repeat like what I said in other videos, the hours that I sleep, the quality of the sleep, and these things take a toll on your brain at some, at least on my brain. Let's just not talk about other people. So I can tell you that other than what I say in other videos, that the severe short-term, very short-term memory issues, sometimes I do feel exhausted if the night was really even worse, but I think my brain is doing pretty, generally speaking, pretty well. I can tell you two things about, let's say brain abilities. Oops, that's a bug in there. Right after the surgery, when I started to have my nostrils, I think were at first were too wide open. I felt there was too much air breathing in and dry. But then after a couple of months, I think, so 6 months maybe after surgery, the nostrils started to get blocked at night and dry. At that moment, actually, I went through I repeat what I say in another video, an older video, I think. I went through a complete burnout at my job. So I was doing this engineering work. I was writing I was writing text. I was writing things, technical things, and at some point, my brain was so affected by the lack of quality of sleep because of my nostrils being very blocked and dry at night, that I think I said this in another video. I would read a line, just a line, right? So I don't know, 10 words, 10, 12 words. I would read the line, and at the end of the line, I could not remember what the rest of the line was about. That was just the end of it, basically. I could no longer work as an engineer. But that thing was, again, because the nostrils were blocked. And this kind of memory problem went away. So right now I can read the text, I understand. You could see I did videos about, I was reading a book of watches or so. So I no longer have this problem. However, I do have a problem if I try to memorize things, because this is something I didn't say in my videos. Years later, when I quit the engineering, I tried to go back to school and I tried to study something else. I was good at studying things and memorizing things. For 2 years that school was going on, was in the medical field, actually. Not medicine, but just techniques of something in medicine, medical. But when I started to practice, actually wasn't, I was practicing was like a stage. When I started to practice, I could not remember what I did study months before. My brain was empty, basically. It was impossible to remember that data. Even though during the school, so this is years, this is about 10 years after the surgery, right? 8 years or so. Even if at school I had good marks, I did study, and again, I had to study anatomy and things like this related to the human body. Even if at school I had good marks, months later I could no longer remember what I've learned in school. So this gives you an idea. Perhaps this is due to the poor sleep quality during those many years with empty nose syndrome. So the brain is affected in some way, at least to me. It's not like I'm very functional, right? It's not a problem, except for that, like I said, let's recall it here. I have so there is this problem with long-term memory of things that I study, and then there is that burnout problem went away, especially now that I can breathe by nostrils at night. It's no longer blocked. Also, I have this, I said in other videos, very, I don't know, it's not even short term. Basically, I take something, I have my water bottle, I go into a room, I put it someplace. Well, a bottle, you see it, maybe the case, right? I put my case, and also actually put things involuntarily at weird places. So I just, basically, I have my something in my head, I have my hand, I need to put it down. I put it at weird places, doesn't matter, in the dresser, in the drawer, when I take something from there, and then I absolutely cannot remember where I put it. 1 minute or 2 minutes later, so basically what happens if I don't pay attention, basically what I do, and let me say what I'm doing now, I have something in hand, first I try to always put it at the exact same place, always. So my things, everything, I'm like a, I don't know, old grandma, I don't know, I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I think there are people who are just very, very organized or so. So now what I have to do is, when I put down something which is not at the correct normal location, I really look at it and I say, I'm putting this, it's weird, yes I know, but that's the only way I can cope with this. I'm putting this here on this table, on this corner. Only then I will remember later on, minutes later, where I put it. Otherwise I don't remember, especially, I can tell you, if I'm thinking at something else and I put one item down at the unusual place, I will never remember where I put it. And that oftentimes this is not a problem, but sometimes you put your key in I don't know, and like I say, in a drawer or something like this, and then good luck finding them back. Okay, so this is the things that I want to share with you in this video. And if you have any comments, don't hesitate in the comment section, and see my other videos in the ENS playlist. Thanks for watching.